Okay, everyone. Welcome to the first in our series of webinars from Intelo.ai. Thank you for joining. We are recording this session, so if you didn't get a chance to watch it live, please reach out to us afterwards to listen into the session and follow up with any questions you might have. We're going to be focused on preseason planning today, and you're speaking and listening to one of the two presenters. My name is Jeff Fish. I'm co-CEO of Intelo.ai. And I lead our go-to-market teams as well as partnerships and overall customer success. Been with the organization for a couple of months, joined after a long stint at Salesforce where I was GM of Salesforce China. And before that, I started a company called Chatly that was acquired by Salesforce. Been in the retail technology space for 20 plus years and have known Roopesh, my co-founder, who's the other speaker today, and leads up product and co-CEO for, I think it's 12 years, but I'll let Roopesh introduce himself and give a little bit of his background.
Yeah, looking forward to talking to everyone. Been basically leading product at Intelo for about 2 years. And before that, kind of been in retail all through, worked at kind of leading practices at companies like Publicis, Sapient, and Accenture. And, retail's where my focus is, and looking forward to talking to you more and showing you some aspects of how agentic works in our world.
Thanks, Roopesh. Let's get to the subject at hand. First of all, who is Intelo? So Intelo is a very specific type of product. We are an agentic AI solution that are solving very real-world problems that start with merchandising and planning, that live within the in-season planning and pre-season, which is where our big focus is today, as well as going into omni-channel. We support all elements of merchandising and planning, and we solve very specific problems with our agentic AI. Our agents are purpose-built, designed specifically for merchandisers and planners, and really designed to help solve problems for those individuals. They work alongside merchandisers and planners, and they are agentic friends that are going to work very closely with merchandising and planning teams that are, one, already using them, or two, could be using them in the future. Let's get into some of the challenges that we've seen in preseason planning. And I know there's several folks on the call that live and breathe this space daily, so this is not new news to you. For those of you that are purely in the technology side of the world and don't live merchandising and planning space, this might be new news to you. But data has told us that only about 29% of forecasts are accurate. That means that individuals within an organization that are living preseason planning and living the world of merchandising and planning only expect 29% of those forecasts to be accurate, and that 80 believe that forecasts achieve 80% accuracy across the board. And then CEOs and C-suite think that 70% are less than accurate. Now, thinking about that demand and having those challenges means that there's lots of room for improvement. There's lots of room for capability of delivering higher quality demand forecasts and higher quality preseason planning. And planning for multi-million-dollar inventory buys with that level of uncertainty is dangerous. It causes many challenges. And that's why preseason planners spend so much time going through many iterations of plans and are using tools, no matter what they are, that can be considered either outdated or insufficient. And often planning teams are sitting around spreadsheets and making these decisions based on best guess, based on data from the year before, based on historical data probably the year before that, and not thinking through what the future could look like. And what the world has told us over the past several years is that the world is very different today than it was 7, 8 years ago. And that leads to some of the challenges that our planners and allocators are facing, and some of the merchandising and planning teams live and breathe today. Research has told us that even given the major uncertainty and disruptions during the pandemic, merchandisers and planners are having more trouble today. They're having more concerns and issues around lead time, on what the minimum order quantity should be. And the biggest concern and challenges that we've seen across our customers and what the data has told us across many different organizations is that labor shortages are a problem across the board. And with labor being a blind spot, labor having challenges for organizations with 1,000 stores, 10 stores, 500 stores, doesn't matter. How do you solve for that? Well, in this environment, you're not going to go and hire more people. You need to have technology be a supporter for you. And this is really where agentic AI comes in to solve problems. We're not looking to replace the people that you have. We're looking to make them stronger and better. And what that means is that things like markdowns will be less so. And being able to leverage markdowns as a strategic tool with the right amount of people will increase margin improvement. And if you have the right preseason plan and you're not trying to catch up in season and trying to catch up with challenges that you're facing, then what are you going to do? You're going to have better sell-through. You're going to have higher quality margin. You're going to have better quality customers. You're going to have customer satisfaction that's much higher. And if we think about different regions, here in the US where I sit, erosion of profit can kill a business, and markdowns become a necessity throughout the season. And in areas like France, where you've got preset sales days, you have to have the right allocation in advance. You can't think about this mid-season or towards the end of season when those preset sales are happening. So this becomes critically important to have the right people in the right place, leveraging the right technology to support your capabilities around planning. And then how do you solve that, right? And some of the problems that we've heard from our customers and that industry knowledge has told us is that data is living in silos. So you've got data in your MFP, you've got data in your ERP, you've got data in your OMS. Sometimes they talk to each other, sometimes they don't. We want to unlock that data. We want to unlock that data in a way that allows us to leverage a conversational UI and an agent to be able to really leverage that data in a more systematic way. And then planning as a service or planning as a system can be big problems, right? Because you have a preset plan, you then update that plan, you leverage ML and what some organizations say they have with AI to try to make decisions, but it's not factoring in the future. It's not factoring in various models that you can stress test. So having the ability to have agile planning and bring that information to the forefront is key. Now you need to integrate that planning across teams. So not just the buyers, but the merchandisers, the planners, your C-suite executives, your financial team, they're all involved in this. And how do you have a way to connect that data and connect the dots so that they're all involved? Well, the way to do that is through agentic AI powered forecasting. And leveraging agentic AI powered forecasting allows you to do several things. One, it allows you to take all of those disparate data points and unify them together, whether you're using a data lake like Snowflake or Databricks, or you're using systems like Salesforce and using Data Cloud, or you've got systems in all different spreadsheets and you need to bring them together. Bringing them into an agentic layer allows you to do that. Then the ability to take historical data, last year's sell-through, the year before that, looking at your merchandising plans over the past couple of years, and then taking third-party data, so information around things like weather patterns or tariff negotiation. Even just yesterday with the EU update, information's happening in real time. So you need to factor that into your merchandise planning sessions. And then factoring in events that are happening across all of your doors for the next 12 months. And then thinking about what the right fit for each store, for each region, and pulling that capability together. And then having a team of individuals that are armed with that data is a start, right? That's the starting point for us. The next phase of that is, how do you have a digital friend or an agentic layer that you can interact with in real time that learns about every interaction that you have, all of your personal input, and then delivering that personal input against all of the data points we just talked about to deliver refined and presented capabilities in real time, and then continuously evolving and learning from all of the individuals that are contributing, plus all of the data that we're bringing to the forefront. That's what an agentic AI layer delivers for brands today, and what will really help catapult your organization to get those higher margins, better sell-through, and higher quality customer satisfaction by having that right product at the right time in the right place. So how does Intelo do that, right? Well, we do that through advanced forecasting from all of those data points we just talked about. We analyze thousands of internal and external variables. So things like weather patterns, things like event information, and then also help you plan around physical store planning based on information that we've got around clustering. We do operational reality checks across all of this data. So it allows you to really close the confidence to reality gap. There's always a difference between what the data is going to tell you on that first run versus what your gut does. And that's where the agentic layer and the inner conversational UI allows that to come to place. Then you have to always plan for volatility. I don't think that in March of this year, we thought about, tariff day and what that would mean for the world, or what that would mean for a specific region, whether it be Europe or Asia or the US. I don't think that at the beginning of this month even, we thought about, the difference in tariffs between EU tariffs were just negotiated this week between a tariff in various countries in Asia, and then what could be happening in China. So we have to think about that volatility, and that volatility is real time. And then seasonal fluctuations. So bringing in all of this information together, interacting with all of your teams, and allowing the agents to work alongside your members and alongside your merchandisers and planners will really allow you to deliver the best possible capabilities. And this is what Intelo does for our customers today, and what we're continuously evolving our product mix to support. When we think about what that means at an agentic level, right? Our capabilities allow us to deliver plug-and-play agents that are purpose-built, that are designed specifically for the problems we're trying to solve, and they're plug-and-play, meaning they're preset, they understand the merchandising and planning space. They don't need to be preloaded with all types of macro data. It's already there. We will need your actual brand data, but we bring all of that data specifically to your tenant, and that allows it to be plug-and-play. So the capabilities allow to really deliver value within 30 days. You don't have to have large tech deployments, whether you're using systems like Anaplan or Board or Zebra or any other system that's out there. Great. We integrate with all of them. We sit on top of that layer. And Roopesh, when he starts to talk about the product, will kind of interact with what that means. But that's a key element. A key element is having agents that work for you and with you, but also work with your systems that you already have, and be able to sit on top of those systems to deploy that capability is really, really important. And then the key to, I think, the magic that agents deliver that, historical ML or even LLMs didn't deliver for organizations. And there's been so much testing and experimenting around LLMs since ChatGPT came out. But the real key difference here is that this conversational collaboration between your teams and your data, and with the LLM as a support, specifically within your tenant, to deliver greater value in real time, that's a key difference between using ML or using LLM capabilities as compared to using agentic capabilities that have real reasoning, and that reasoning allows you to work alongside teams to deliver the best possible outcome. Now, we'll deliver advanced reporting both for your own team members, so whether you're merchandisers or planners or CFO or CEO, you can all have your own view of the data and have the right reports that matter for the individual that's looking at them. And then when there are needs for customization, and we've seen very rare needs for customization, that can be done too. But what we've really seen so far is that 80% of agents across the board are the same. The 20% difference is really around your data, and your data is not shared with anyone else. That's your own tenant. That's your own instance of Intelo that allows you to deliver those very specific, unique experiences based on your brand, based on your input that you're providing. And then the data that continuously evolves from our deep integrations into your systems, but then also in the conversations that you as individuals are having with that data. So how does that manifest into a product? Well, it manifests into a product into really three separate areas. I'll start with what's coming, and then we'll go to what we're going to be focused on today. So what's coming are our omni-channel agent teams. Now, our agent teams are a set of agents, and our set of agents are really a set of problems that each agent is trying to solve. So for example, our shipping optimization agent could be deployed as a single agent solving for shipping optimization. But we know that that's not how people work, and that's not how teams work. How teams work is they work alongside things like digital merchandising and SLA optimization or SEO attribution. All of those things work together in collaboration, but they are multiple agents working as a team. And that's something that's coming later this year with our omni-channel agent team. An area that we have in full deployment that we've got multiple customers leveraging is our in-season agent team. Now, I would challenge that our in-season agent team would be a lot less relevant if pre-season was doing a much better job. And we'll talk a little bit about that in a second. But things like replenishment and rebalancing are an outcome of having maybe not so great preseason planning. Now, preseason planning to get it perfect is never going to happen. You know, perfect is the enemy of the good. We want to get to great. Never perfect. Perfect's impossible. So we think that in-season agent teams always must exist, working along your in-season agent team, your planners and allocators to do things like faster rebalancing, faster replenishment, faster microallocation, and always thinking to do better on lost sales analysis. But we're going to spend our focus today on preseason agent team. How do you set the right seed plan? How do you do that continuous scenario analysis? How do you get newness right? And newness is something that when we talk to customers, they tell us a lot about and some of the challenges that we faced. And then the biggest challenge that I think I hear about all the time is how do we get that door level demand right? Can it be 100% all the time? No. But how do you get it to a much better percentage than where we started in this discussion today? And that's really where we want to focus on. These 4 key agents: seed planning, scenario analysis, newness, and door level demand, working together as an agent team. And those agent teams can work with the other agent teams, with our in-season agent team and our soon-to-be omni-channel agent team. And then the beauty of the agentic layer, thanks to standardized protocols, is our preseason agent team can work with your other systems agents. So if you use Salesforce and you're using Agentforce, if you're using ServiceNow or SAP or any other platform that has all of these agents that they're deploying, their agents can talk to our agents. And that's really the future of the agentic layer. The agentic layer is going to have agents across systems talking to each other to work alongside you and your teams to make your jobs better, more efficient, and deliver better value for your organization. With that, I'm going to hand it off to Roopesh to talk a little bit about the product and then dig into or deep dive into the product capabilities.
Yeah, as Jeff was saying, the biggest aspect of the future of work is how humans and agents are going to really work together to make things happen, right? Faster, better, more strategic at the end of the day, right? So in that context, our agent teams actually work with humans, and that is the biggest differentiation when we think about how agentic AI kind of differentiates itself in the context of the work you need to do, and works with the humans to ensure that human is kept in loop, or human is, or you as a human can get in and interact with the agent to provide the inputs you need to provide. So the agents actually can show up in different ways. The screen I have here on my screen is basically showing how agents show up in a chat interface, right? A web-based chat interface. Agents could show up, all of our preseason agent can show up in Teams, Microsoft Teams, if that's what you're using, or any other conversational interface. To Jeff's point, agents can be called from other agents or other systems using, directly communicating using an MCP protocol, which is what the standard protocol is for agents to talk to each other. Just like we talk to each other in English or Spanish or whatever the language is, agents talk to each other using a protocol that they call MCP. And then agents can, of course, be called from systems by using an API call or any other interface from systems which are coming in, right? But today, as Jeff was mentioning, we will look at preseason agents only, and we'll focus on how they interact with you in a web interface, in a chat-based web interface. Now, when we think about preseason planning, it is an art and a science. People who have done this, I'm sure I see some folks on the call who basically have done merchandise planning as a skill for a very long time, and you understand that just kind of giving a forecast with a bunch of numbers doesn't solve the problem of kind of getting to the accurate forecast, accurate line plan, accurate buy plans, and eventually, which then it translates to basically pre-allocations, which go into the different doors or channels as you think about it, right? When you think through that, there is a data and science involved, and then there is the whole aspect of the art involved, where merchandiser and the planner work together to provide the inputs and ensure that the forecast or the plan can account for the art part of the interface. And that's what the agentic AI interface here, which you'll see multiple agents coming together to work with you to help you kind of define your preseason plan, whether it is a line plan, whether it's a newness forecast, or any of the other aspects you're trying to achieve as part of your in-season plan or preseason plan, right? So I'll just show a simple example where we will try, we can have a conversation just like all of us today, I'm sure, use tools like ChatGPT or Perplexity or Gemini, whatever you're comfortable with. This kind of works very similar to some of that, but also acts as a dashboard type interface also. And we'll see what I mean by that. So let's say I am up there, I'm sitting in my Teams, or I go to the web and I say, you know what, I want to get a seed plan for 2026, for a line plan. Let's say I'm starting a line planning and I'm trying to kind of get a seed plan using previous year's data. And that's what you do today. You probably have a allocator or a planner or someone pull that data, or sometimes the merchandisers might pull that data, and then probably either in systems or in spreadsheets kind of build what you call the seed plan. In this case, you are building the seed plan just by typing, just like you would ask a human. You're asking the system here or the agent here, which is a seed plan agent, to kind of build a seed plan for you. So at this point, it explains what it's doing, and it also explains anywhere you have questions, you could ask why it made a decision, and you can interface with the agent just like you would talk to a colleague. So that's the beauty of how the system works. Now, in this case, what it did, the seed plan agent, what it did, it brought in all the data from LY and LY. When you're doing preseason planning, as most of you probably know, when you talk about LY, we're talking about this year, and we were talking about LLY, we're talking about last year. And you don't have all the sales data for this year. You have all the sales data for last year. You have the buys or orders for this year. You're using that to kind of think about, as the new line comes in, what should it potentially look like based on data. So so at this point, the agents are applying the models to bring in and account for things like missed opportunities, like what Jeff was mentioning in the previous in a few slides ago, ensuring that you understand true demand and not purely sales as you kind of make those decisions is very important. And again, you can reason with the agent to figure out why it considered a certain aspect as a missed opportunity. But at this point, it kind of incorporated all that, and then it figured out your best sellers, your underperformers, and built out your first level seed plan, right? And and when we think about the seed plan, it can of course be broken down in multiple different attributes. In this case, you see a region level breakdown. You can get to a any level. This can be anything. In this case, you can get to a price point level breakdown. You can get to a fabric level breakdown, or even a category level breakdown, right? So many of your planners might be doing planning at a category level. So you could jump in at a category level and look at that data. Now, let's say your merchandising team is doing line planning at a category level and want to do a category plan for women's ready to wear. So this is where the other agent comes in, where you can actually run scenarios. You can actually run what the newness forecast looks like based on new styles which are coming in, and look at the outcome compared to that. Now, even before that, the agent lets you it literally, based on the information you had from LY and LLY, it gets all the information and it runs all the analysis and builds based on your constraints, any constraint you're provided. For example, in this case, I provided a constraint saying, don't have more than 11% carryovers, and I only can afford 37% newness. And in this context, what it did is it built out the carryovers based on, what is the right merchandise combination to have, and also performance of the styles. And then it also figured out what the like for likes or mapping should be based on, again, performance, which then the product team can use as an information to do their planning or their build out. And then similarly, from a newness perspective, it also kind of figured out what are the number of SKUs you need from a newness perspective. And then if you want to really give the product team a design readout, another agent plugs in, which can then give you the design readout. When you think about design readout, it is merchandisers or planners' perspective on what might be some of the missing pieces in the collection as you're doing the line planning, assuming that we are doing some carryovers and we are doing some like for like in this case. You can again do the same thing. You can dig in, you can ask questions, you can change anything out here before you provide the updated information to your product team. Do I see any questions there? Jeff, Jeff, stop me if you hear questions. I'm happy to kind of address it as it comes. Yeah. Okay, cool. Now, another agent which is very useful in this context is when it comes to kind of, for example, let's say you're doing a fabric level forecast. You can actually see what are your different, how your numbers are broken down based on fabrics. Let's say I dig into the fabric called stretch scrape. I bring that out. Now, in this scenario, what is happening is I've switched to a mode where product team has already started pushing the products, and your PLM or a catalog now has new products coming in. And what the agent just did the mapping of all the products which came in, especially when it came to newness. This becomes very interesting. And we look at the newness. We look at all the new styles which are getting pushed in here. At this point, everything is getting pulled in from either your PLM or a catalog, ideally a PLM, so that agent can talk directly to a PLM and bring the data it needs to. The newness forecasting agent just jumped in here. The newness forecasting agent looked at all the indications you had given in your design readout, and then tries to figure out, as the new styles come in, how does that map to the guidance you had provided. And then if you want to dig in, let's say I want to dig in and see, now as a merchandiser, I might want to kind of help with the forecasting, because you as a merchant know the most. Of course, the data tells a lot, but there's a lot of information the merchants have, which then is used to kind of co-build the line plan with the merchant, right? So let's take an example. In this case, you have a new dress which just came in. The agent figured out for you that these are the areas which might be matching styles, and shows that to you as a merchandiser. And then you as a merchandiser that can decide, you know what, I like this, I'm going to push this up, or I'm going to completely remove this, and I'm going to want to look at other styles which had worked in the past to kind of figure out the forecast. And then the agent learns from that. Every interaction, again, the agent learns from that, as an example, right? So based on this information, the agent has built out the entire forecast for the completely new SKU, based on understanding that this SKU or this style looks very similar to these styles, based on data inputs and merchandisers input, and then builds out basically a forecast for that. And then you can, of course, talk to the agent and say, I want to push this even further, and I believe this can do 20% more. And you can actually chat and tell the agent your instructions, right? So what I'm trying to demonstrate here is the beauty of the platform or the agent network is that it taps into human potential, ensures that we understand how the thinking of the human brings the data together and creates a collaborative environment to build out your pre-season plan. Now, let's say, for example, now this is not just a chat interface, right? For example, it's pretty much a dashboard also. So for example, you might want to, let's say, you know what, I just got more information and I want to update the revenue not by 8%, I want to grow it by 10%, right? If that is the goal, I could just update the dashboard, and not, if people are not comfortable with chat, they could do it just by updating the dashboard itself, as an example, right? Now, and the data gets updated. Now, if you're to do the same thing in chat, you can do that in chat too, where you can just say update revenue to 125 million, and it'll update the information and all the related information corresponding to this, as an example. You could also look at one interesting aspect which I wanted to show is how can you bring in different scenarios based on the data you pointed to. So you can tell the agent to point to a bunch of information, like Jeff mentioned. I want to hear what is happening about in tariffs. I want to look at fashion trends in this area. I want you to look at local events across all my doors, things like that. And then you can ask the agent, what are some of the, in this case, for example, I can ask the agent, what are some of the macroeconomic trends I should consider as I'm planning my line plan, as an example. So it looks at all the data which you kind of configured to point it to, in addition to what we basically had the base for the agent. And then it kind of picks based on your brand, your categories, your preferences, and what you have done in past. It kind of pulls out some trends as an example. And let's say now I want to apply, oversize. I can actually see what those trend means if I want. And then if I say, you know what, I want to apply oversized handbag trend and see how that impacts my line plan. What SKUs would I prioritize? What doors would have what merchandise? It kind of does that level of planning, and then kind of brings it all the way and bubbles it all the way up to kind of show you the difference between what would have happened if you would have applied the trend versus not applying the trend. And you can decide, of course, to not apply the trend. Now, what I'm trying to demonstrate here is how you can actively work with the agent to bring out things. There are many other agents in the preseason plan, like building out the door level demand while you're sitting in season, building out the buy plan, and kind of ensuring that you have the orders automatically created. You can actually do your fabric forecasts and ensure that your orders for fabric are placed on time. So there are a bunch of agents who come together to kind of ensure that the preseason plan works. But I just want, as part of this webinar, I just wanted to give you guys a quick overview of preseason agents and how the agents work together to make things happen. I would love to take questions if there are questions from people.
Roopesh, I've got a question. Can you talk a little bit about the MCP protocol and how those agents are going to talk to other agents?
Yeah, for sure. So MCP protocol is now an industry standard. It is kind of the language of the agents. So it's a simple instruction using which a master agent. So let's say you have something like an agent force in your ecosystem. There could be a master agent which could be deployed, which now knows a lot of things based on all the other agents which it has access to. So it's very similar to what a company can do. For example, when you hire employees, you get skill sets which you then bring together to do bigger work inside the company. It's very similar to that. The master agent can be accessible to you as a human, as a person, and you're like, and who gets access to what part of the agent can all be configured there. And then when you ask something or request something from an agent, from that master agent, this agent can then talk to all the different agents which has been involved in a language very similar to the way we speak to each other in English, which is what is called MCP. And right now, every single agentic platform follows that MCP protocol and hence can talk to each other in a seamless way, just like I am talking to you right now and you're understanding what I am talking about. And then if I had an instruction, you might, and if it would be working for me, you take that instruction and run with it. MCP is very similar, like English in that context, for agents to talk to each other, but of course, much more structured and much more simplified.
Thanks, Roopesh. Looks like another question has come through. I'll read it out to everyone, and then either Roopesh or I will answer. This is an exciting and powerful tool when it comes to core business forecasting, such as top-line inventory and product lines. Traditional organizations, often with large planning teams or inventory management, sometimes treat this information as highly confidential. My two questions are: one, how can data security be ensured for a company? And two, why or how could forecasting be more effective than an experienced planner within the company? Why don't you take one and I'll take two?
Yeah, so from a data security perspective, as Jeff was mentioning in the beginning, the instance of the agent is your instance of the agent. Just like you have an instance of any item, right? You literally, your entire sales data is in a cloud solution like Salesforce, as an example, right? Or SAP or something like that. So which is your instance of the data, and the data doesn't get passed to any LLMs or any other tools outside your setup. So and everything we're talking about here is installed in the context of your instance. Yes, the information which is learned about things like weather patterns, local events, and things like that is passed to that instance as an input, but there is nothing which goes out from your instance into anything else to basically ensure that the data security is driven. So Archer, to your question, data security is, of course, the most important part of when you start thinking about something like this. The agent instance which a company has is very specific to them. There are two reasons: one, for data security; two, also for the fact that that instance, then learns based on how the planners and merchandisers are working with the agent and the data which is coming in the context of the agent. That's why an agent is defined as a type of work it needs to do or they need to do, plus the type of data and the type of people they need to interact with, which then creates the intelligence for the agent over a period of time. And that kind of helps answer the second question also, but I'll let Jeff take a little bit more. But I want to ensure the technical aspect of that is the system is not doing better than a planner. System is actually working with the planner, and I'll let or merchandiser. So I'll let Jeff kind of take more on that question.
Yeah, so to add to what Roopesh was saying, we never think that an agent is better than an experienced planner, ever. We think that agents are digital labor augmentation that supports those strategic planners and helps those strategic planning teams make better decisions. The best planner, the best person in any one organization can only collate so much data at any given point in time. What the agents are doing is they're bringing data from various data points. It's the customer data, so that data that you're asking about that needs to be totally secure and unique to the customer, whatever brand they are. It's the macro data, it's weather data, it's information that's around trend lines. It's also information around historical data within the organization that goes back multiple years, if you've got multiple years worth of information. That's just not something that a single individual would ever have at top of mind. Now, they may have it in many spreadsheets, and they may be fantastic at pulling that data through in spreadsheets. What an agent will do is make that much faster, much more efficient, and be able to access many more data points than that spreadsheet can offer. So it's taking the planner's strategic thinking and working with that planner to make their outputs much better and much faster. And we think that, I'm sorry, go ahead. We think that over time, the planners are going to become smarter and smarter, not think we know, or become smarter and smarter to help those planners do a better job, both for preseason planning, in-season planning, and omni-channel planning across the board. And Roopesh, anything else?
Yeah, when you onboard an agent, you're technically getting someone who basically works with your team. And one of the aspects which is the reason why agentic is at a different level as compared to a machine learned model or anything else is every input which the planner or multiple planners provide in the system is kind of getting considered for the intelligence of the agent. It is kind of comparing that and then looking at results based on that, then trying to become more intelligent for the next time. So what that is going to do in the long run is now it'll push our planners, our merchandisers to be even more intelligent, because they get the base from what is done. Their basic thinking is done. In some cases, even thinking about the way they might have thought in the past, they might have themselves forgot about how they might have thought in the past for a problem which came in the past. Agent remembers that. It brings it to the forefront, and now it makes the planner think further beyond just the basics, which again, only reason they don't do it today is because of time, because at the end of the day you can only run certain things today, right? So that's where the agent is really going to be a augmentation of the planning and merchandising team, and not a replacement. And that is one reason we strongly believe a lot of the AI tools and even the forecasting tools or sheets which are out there has not been that widely adopted, because they try to kind of position as a replacement or a add-on, but it is more like you completed it and you pass it on, as compared to, in this case, we are talking about it as a collaboration between the agent and the planner, which then creates a different level of epiphany.
Great question. Thank you, Archie. I think with that, we'll call it for today. Thank you, everyone, for joining. And for those that have listened to this via recording, we are going to have several more sessions coming up throughout the summer and into the fall. So be on the lookout for them. Our next session will be on in-season planning, and we'll see you soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.